You need to shut the fuck up. That's right. It's your boy Tony D coming to you live from the great city of Philadelphia. It's been a hot minute since I've done anything solo. But boy, do I got a lot of interesting things to talk about today. It's been almost a month since I posted on Podbean and Spotify. The boys are taking a break, so I'm here doing solo stuff. But this is an interesting show. This isn't like your normal Tony D show where we're talking about farts and hearts and gaping buttholes and strange people that walk down the street in man thongs and banana hammocks and all that jazz. This is more on the line of a serious show. I wouldn't even say it's a show. I would say it's more of a chronicles, a response. Yeah. We'll put it like that, like a response. Because there's always two sides to every story, right? You're probably sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, Tony, what the hell are you talking about? Well, I'm going to let you know what I'm talking about. Because over the last month, I've been contemplating whether or not to do this or not. And I decided a couple days ago, after talking to a couple people, that I would put out hints that I'm going to do this. So, what am I talking about? So back in October, there's a guy that listens to the same FM radio station that I do in Manchester, New Hampshire, known as WMNH 95.3, the Matt Connerton Unleashed Show. I have no problem with Matt whatsoever. I have talked to Matt. I've let Matt know that I am doing something recently, like 2 days ago. I said, I'm going to drop a video. I said, there's a person that called your show that dropped some names of people that I'm an acquaintance with. I said, but it's going to be a bombshell. I said, because there's two sides to every story. And these other people don't have a voice for him, this person, which I'll get into in a second, to respond to. So who am I talking about? What am I talking about? Well, here we go. There's a station out there called Outlaw Radio, and there is a host by the name of Bad Billy who went on to WMNH and was speaking about a couple people that are going to be with us tonight. A couple people that want to interact on the comments that were said about them. Now, this is different from anything that I have ever done because I'm more on the comedy side of things. But on all seriousness, this is a serious no. He's a Second Amendment righteous Republican who thinks by holding a sniper rifle or a rifle with a scope and a revolver on his hip that he's going to get pussy. Well, Bad Billy, I'm going to let you know, you're not going to get no pussy. You look like a bitch. And you're horrible at broadcasting. You say that you're from the American Alumni Broadcasting School. You are lame. You have no enthusiasm behind your voice. It's like literally watching paint dry. I've listened to a couple of your shows and your interviews, and I sit back and I go, what the fuck are you doing? You wasted like 10 grand to go to broadcasting school to do your show, first off, which looks like you're doing it in your closet. You don't even know how to work OBS. You have double framed voiceovers that you cannot correct, which tells me you are very bad at working a board. But that's later down the line. I'm not going to sit here and attack you because you have done some sincere things about representatives that hold office in New Hampshire. Going on public platforms, speaking about Stacey Lawton, speaking about how she called bomb threats into hospitals. You took that upon yourself to do that. But you only have 275 subscribers, and it's really not going anywhere. But without further ado, I would like to introduce to you the people that were talked about. The people that are going to speak on what was said about them with their response. Oh, this is going to get interesting. Like I said, these people are acquaintances. These are people that you spoke about with lies, supposedly, and they're going to tell their side. I'd like to introduce to you, and I'm sorry that I got to reference these people and bring them into this because I'm sure they don't want to deal with this. First off, let's introduce Matt, a.k.a., as he calls him, Little Hacker. We'll introduce Matt first.
Yep.
Matt, how are you?
Glad to be here.
Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here and loved your intro, Tony. Very good. Thanks for putting this together.
Yeah. Second, I would like to introduce to you Fresno, a.k.a. Dennis Wayne Isley. Dennis, Fresno, welcome to the show.
Yes, Tony. Yeah, thank you very much. E-I-S-E-L-E, that is. Let's get the spelling right.
And then we're also going to introduce Connie, a.k.a. Bree, from Canada. Connie, Bree, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
And then we got some others. We got Portia in the room. We got Brooke. We got Michael. We got a whole slew of people that are on the line that we're going to do this with. Now, you guys, I'm going to start with Matt first. Matt, as you know, I brought this up to you. It was a little shell-shocking to be known that you're being spoke about by some guy who clearly states in this, and we'll get to this clip in a second, who clearly doesn't know you. And it's stated in this clip where he's speaking about you and says straight up, I don't know this guy, but he has this full-blown story about you. So before we get to your point, let's listen to the clip and get a little bit of an understanding of what we're talking about. So we'll go to clip 1.
Matthew Wyman. I can't remember exactly how it was spelled, but Matthew Wyman, a.k.a. Little Hacker, is what they called him. So I've never encountered him. By the time I got onto the chat lines, he had already been arrested and doing time. But this started with him, it started in the early 2000s. He was on a chat line and he heard a sexy voice that he really liked. So he wanted this girl to have phone sex with him, and she refused. So what does he do is he calls, he gets the information of one of her nearest relatives, and I think that was her father, calls that person's local law enforcement spoofing with his phone number.
Okay.
Pretending like he's taking a hostage and saying, if this, I'm going to kill somebody, you know. So the law enforcement there had traced that phone call, of course, with him using caller ID spoofing, to this innocent man that this girl's father. Sure enough, a SWAT team shows up at his house and scares the hell out of him. Of course, then they find out that nothing was wrong. And then Little Hacker would continue this with other people, too. A friend of mine in Indiana was also swatted. Of course, by the time he was swatted, they were starting to figure things out. And all he had to do is say, yes, I'm inside. I'm carrying a cane, so as I get up, it's not a gun, it's a cane, so please don't shoot me. You know, they go and find out everything's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then the FBI started getting involved, and they traced the source of the call to the spoofing company, and what they didn't realize is that the spoofing company would work with law enforcement in situations like this.
Oh.
So finally, they got the original source of the call coming from Massachusetts, made by Little Hacker. And in the end, they did catch him, I think, after 5 years of doing this to people.
Now, with that clip and what he's saying, he clearly states in the beginning of that clip that he does not know you. He has no idea who you are, Matt. And then goes on with a full-blown story of something of like knowing someone. So your response to Bad Billy on what he said.
Well, it's actually quite absurd. First and foremost, with regards to the process of determining any sort of tracing of the call, number one, there was no actual spoofing service used. It was actually a totally different situation. So obviously, Mr. Painter is kind of espousing regurgitated, things that he's heard on chat lines. As far as the actual situation itself, it was actually not like that. The girl exists. Her name is Danielle Gasper. She did exist. She was also part of the legal documentation, which it seems Mr. Painter obviously must have failed to review before, getting on this show. I believe it was on WMMH. I believe it was in Manchester.
Yeah.
On this Matt Connarton show or whatever it was. So obviously there wasn't much fact checking that went on there. But no, the girl existed. The unfortunate SWAT call was made, but the reasons are actually not the reasons that Mr. Painter is actually discussing here on this show. As a matter of fact, the worst that actually happened on the call was that derogatory statements were actually made. And at the end of the day, he's also incorrect about the location, about the nearest relative idea, because actually Ms. Gasper was living with her father at the time, who is also named Richard Gasper. So it seems to me that Mr. Painter here, this gentleman, is just espousing this regurgitated, nonsensical babble that he's heard throughout his time on the chat lines and his interactions with others on the chat lines who may or may not have encountered me historically on these chat lines. But it seems that Mr. Painter has just decided to talk about something due to the fact that he has 275 subscribers and that he is a pretty unsatisfying, unfulfilling situation going on over there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As far as Mr. Painter is concerned, I actually, he's also not being truthful about the idea that he does not know who I am. Now, he does admit that he did not know me during the time that I was committing these crimes, which obviously is extremely an unfortunate thing, being in the commission of any sort of crime, whether it be federal, state or any sort of municipal offense. But he admits himself that he was not in my presence for any of these things that occurred or allegedly occurred. Now, I did encounter Mr. Painter in 2018 on another chat forum, at which point he requested that I, be interviewed or allow myself to be interviewed on his show, which he said was actually a syndicated radio show.
He claims.
And I refused.
He claims to be on AOW Network and Outlaw Radio, and it's a real small platform, like 1.3K subscribers, like nothing crazy. He doesn't get a lot of following. He doesn't have a lot of attention. It's literally like watching paint dry. And well, I mean, it's kind of ironic that you say that, Tony, because I was thinking about that when you said it in your intro about watching paint dry. And I said, it's kind of a fitting name, since the guy's last name is in fact Painter. I didn't even think of that. So, but it's weird, right? So it's weird to tune into a radio station and then hear your name dropped on FM radio from this guy who's claiming victim. But from what I understand and my getting is that this guy also played the info game. He also played with people trying to get information from certain females. Now, I don't know Mr. Painter personally. I have never spoken to Mr. Painter. This is a direct message to Mr. Painter. I want to know, and I guess it's my curiosity, why bring up someone that you clearly state in the beginning of your statement you do not know, but go on to this story, which you just referenced. You're saying you don't know him. You didn't know him before he got arrested. And Fresno, you can chime in on this because you have an understanding also of Mr. Painter, and there's a clip for you. you've known him for years, correct?
Sort of. I've known him a little bit in some of the chat line world, but you were just talking with Matt a little while about how this guy doesn't do his homework. I would love to have a guy like this guy be a cop that arrested me, because he claims that I only had a 45-minute radio career. Now, take it, I've worked at a few radio stations. I would have had to be on a major express plane flight for 45 minutes to work at all of those and get the kind of disability check. I'm a totally blind former radio person, usually in Washington, Oregon, and Central California. And some of the people I worked with in the radio business are totally blind or legally blind. And I paid taxes with the IRS. I don't know. If I only worked for 45 minutes, I'd be pulling one of the biggest scams in federal history, getting the kind of disability I get.
So
for the radio work I did.
So what we'll do is we'll play this clip, and this is what Bad Billy says about you.
This guy, Dennis Wayne Isley, and if you Google that name, you will find his mugshot. You'll find that how he did time for while he was on the inside, he urinated on another inmate, so that kind of crushed his chances of any parole or anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then, Dennis Wayne Isley, a.k.a. Fresno, Frezno. And, of course, Connie from Canada and all that. You know, I basically got on their bad side, and, you know, they got my phone number. They found out, you know, my family's information, started harassing my family, you know, and they had a hacker named Ghostwriter who, you know, he was pretty good at the phone freaking thing, which was, you know, turning people's utilities off, including cell phones. Of course, they weren't very successful with me, but they found my family's information. They called my 77-year-old grandmother at 2:00 in the morning, started harassing her from more of my information.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but see, I kind of came into this at the right time, or else me or my family would have been swatted.
Now, he kind of contradicts himself, and this is open forum for anyone that wants to chime in on this. He kind of contradicts himself when he says that I came into this at the right time where my family would have been swatted. But he then clearly states that one of his family members were found. He clearly contradicts himself.
Well, if I could kind of chime in here, this is Matt. I just kind of want to make the statement that obviously there are a number of people who play the what is called in the chatline subculture, the chatline world, as the information game, or you know, what he refers to as freaking, in which utilities are turned off. Number one, that is actually not what freaking is. Freaking is just being a telephone enthusiast and understanding network stuff and the technical aspects of how switching may work, call connectivity, you know, switching, et cetera, et cetera. So obviously, Mr. Painter has yet again failed to do some homework on the topic that he decided to delve into. In a sense, he's essentially opened up Pandora's box, in my opinion here, a little can of worms, simply because he really lacks understanding with regards to and pertaining to the topics that he's discussing here, including freaking. Another point that I'd like to make with regards to another name he brings up is Ghostwriter. Now, Ghostwriter got a very, very small amount of prison time, 37 months. And if Ghostwriter did these things to Mr. Painter's family members, like he says, and, you know, I'm sure, you know, there could be a great possibility of that, then obviously that is an extremely unfortunate, you know, event that occurred. And of course, you know, obviously I don't want to glorify any sort of criminal activity, even if I am guilty or have been guilty of committing those same offenses historically. But Mr. Painter seems to really, really be lackluster in the sense that he is really, really unwilling to do research and just espouse a bunch of regurgitated nonsense over and over again that's propagated back and forth on chatline forums.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's more. I grabbed certain clips I grabbed 2 clips from that show. There were other names that were dropped, including Bree, aka Connie, whose name was brought up, and you've had some serious interaction with Mr. Billy, and from what I understand, you and him did not get along, correct?
Okay, Tony D, I'm going to give this William Michael Painter about 1 minute of my time, and I told him that the last time I heard him. He was not worth my time. The only time I ever heard his grandmother when he was abusing her in the background, yelling at her to get out of bed when she just had surgery to get fat fuck food, stealing her money. This how I knew of Grandma. Never ever spoke to her, never ever had her number, never ever called her.
So he stole money from his grandmother, who was pretty much bedridden.
And abused her on a daily, and that's why Ghost Rider went after him to begin with. Because he used to tell her, shut the F up, give me the money now, I got a date tonight, and the poor grandma couldn't wait to die to get rid of him. That's why people went after him. Then he came back and tried to make amends with me. Now, mind you, he did think I was younger at that time. And when I denied him phone sex, he turned on me. And my daughter, Courtney, told him I was married and how old I really was.
So he approached you and said that he wanted to have phone sex with you, and when you turned him down, he got a little frustrated.
No, he said to me one night, I want all this to end. I said, what end? Because everybody was trashing him on the line. Mm-hmm. He said, you're not a bad person, Bree. Let's talk. And that's what he came off with.
Interesting.
And I told everybody, and they went after him again.
Interesting. So he's claiming, from this, he's claiming victim, right? He's claiming that he is completely innocent from all of this. I have a hard...
never made a slug up.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing that this gentleman is completely innocent. I have a hard time.
He's not.
I have a hard time believing this. See, he's on the mend right now of attacking someone in New Hampshire, rightfully so, and I'll give him credit for that. But he's attacking someone in New Hampshire. This is coming. What we're doing today is coming out of left field, and is a total switch in the game. What I don't understand is that there was rumors, and this is going to Fresno, that he worked for you, that he was working for you. You were paying him to do emails and stuff like that for him. What is clarification on that, Frez?
Are we still talking about William George Painter in Horseshoe Bend, Idaho? He didn't work for me.
There was rumors that he did. And like,
yeah.
He used to.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, he didn't work.
He used to do your internet stuff, and you used to pay him.
Not Ghost Rider. No, Ghost Rider. I paid Ghost Rider to do my internet stuff.
And then Billy started asking for too much money, and then you got Ghost Rider. Billy was doing that. That is true. He didn't do it long. But you were giving him like 25, and he wanted 50, and you didn't go for it. And Rodney said he'd do it free.
I sure don't remember anything, but then again, I
remember when he did that.
I know his issue, talking about the sex thing, his issue with me was because he really started on me because I was living in Utah at the time, I do believe. And I was about to move to Ohio to be with a well-known chatline girl. And we were going to be roommates, or whatever was going to happen was going to happen. We didn't really put a label on it. And he wanted this girl really bad. And she almost went for him. She did. She was going to say, "Oh, I don't know why I had you move here. Maybe we can still hang out because I really want to be with this bad Billy guy." And then she learned he had no toenails, and that disgusted her so much that she didn't even want to talk to the guy anymore after that, I guess. And then all of a sudden he starts going after me. Yeah, he starts going after me out of the blue because my former part-time roommate didn't want to be with him because he had no toenails, I guess.
See, here's my issue with this guy. And the more and more that I educate myself on what he's doing, which is very little, because again, I'm just going to state that he's a horrible broadcaster, horrible. It's probably some of the worst podcasting, aka radio, I've ever listened to in my entire life. And again, he is a Republican. He holds down tight the Second Amendment, and he makes that clear in his pictures, and holding guns and all that stuff and whatever. I mean, you're just a fucking idiot to me. He is still calling the chat lines, and it's clear because I made a comment in the chat room. I said, I know these people that you are speaking of. You should watch what you're saying. I made that very clear. And he made it very clear that this is going to get out, and I'm prepared for the repercussions for this. There's going to be no repercussions. I'm giving the second side to the story. I'm still confused at the Matt part of the story because he claims that he doesn't know him but knows so much. And I'm more on the scale of, he brought up Big Mama, who's another chat liner, saying that Big Mama was doing the info game and all this other stuff. I don't know what the story is with that. He didn't really, dive deep or dig deep into that story. He just brought her name up. But he's bringing up all these names, and he's claiming victim. But in reality, to go on an FM radio station and throw these people out there, and then he later said about the bomb threat that you called in Fresno at the Burger King, and he was talking about that on the show, and he was just picking you guys apart one by one on who you were. I don't think that this guy...
What?
Go ahead.
No, actually, and I say this because it's all public record. I had a long talk with an FBI agent about one of these things a while back. I think we talked for about an hour and a half about this. But I also did a bomb threat to a sporting event that may or may not have actually stopped that event. But I never got charged for it because I did admit to doing it. And it was something that I haven't done lately. And, you do those things, maybe get them out of your system. It's kind of like starting a fire, people who start a fire to see if they can get the paramedic or, the fire crew to come and pull it out and put it out and know that they've actually had something to do with it. And I think that's the joy I got out of that, was to see if I could actually influence something. And the reason I urinated he talked about me urinating on an inmate. Well, there is something when you go to prison or go to jail and you get disability like I get, you do not lose it when you go to jail. If you get SSI, you lose that once you're arrested. You lose it right then. But disability, you don't. You have to go to prison to lose your disability. So what I was thinking is, and I even hired a lawyer who thought I was a little bit of a crackpot for this, but he thought it might work, that if I committed a crime while I was in jail, it would keep me there so I could keep getting disability for my commissary.
Okay.
What I didn't realize, Tony, is if I had kept doing that, all they would have done was just transport me to prison and kept bringing me back to jail. So that was one of the things I didn't know. I'd been a new criminal at that time. But at that time, they kept me there in jail. I think I stayed there maybe a month longer than I would have.
Okay.
And that's basically, yeah. And I think the inmate was changing the channel on the TV. And I wanted to show him that I didn't want him doing that. And so I went up to his bars and peed on his shoes. And he started trying to hit me. He started trying to hit me in the head. And the bars were, kind of blocking his thing a little bit.
Right.
His blows a little bit. And it made for some interesting conversation throughout the cell block. We were kind of in the hole, I guess. He was in the hole and I was in semi-protective custody there.
Okay.
And and it was kind of what happened, and people kind of laughed about it and thought it was kind of stupid, but something that I got away with probably because I was totally blind. But
right.
Yeah, he got that messed up too.
So
he got that messed up too.
Between all three of yous, do you guys know if he's a creep? Like, is he a creep? Is he out lurking for disabled women on the chat line? Like is this what he does? Is this what he's known for?
Well, I want to chime in on that one. Number one, I wouldn't want to be like Mr. Painter in the sense that I'm not interested in relaying or conveying information or rumors that may or may not be true. What I know about, Mr. Painter has nothing to do with him being any sort of creep or sexual deviant or pedophile, although there may be rumors of that out there. But, I also, I don't know. I just feel like, this guy's just going to go ahead and just keep espousing nonsense. And I don't want to fall into the same pit. I don't want to step into that pitfall and espouse nonsense. Maybe somebody else has something to say on that one. But like I said, if anything happened to his family members and things like that, I mean, that is extremely unfortunate. But, he has this victim mentality. And I have to say that Mr. Painter has never been victimized or confronted by me in any way, shape, or form, with the exception of his request that I appear on his radio show and my refusal. And obviously he became extremely passive aggressive after that point. But as far as the creep stuff is concerned, I really don't want to espouse anything like that.
Okay.
Personally.
I respect that. I respect that. So we're coming up on 33 minutes. We gave this enough time, and I believe that the message of your other sides has been made. What I would like to do is thank you guys for being a part of this and putting your part of the story out there. I believe that it was 100% truthful. There was nothing of disregard, and I surely believe that the message will be sent. Now, what the response will be, I don't know. I'm opening up something, as Matt calls it, Pandora's box, and he already opened up.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I say something real quick? And probably Matt or Bree or you might have picked up on this. Could you sort of tell in a way that the guy Mr. Painter was talking to seemed kind of bored with him?
Yeah, the whole interview.
He was giving him a courtesy listen, but he wanted to say, what am I doing? Listening to this? Who cares? Type thing, and the whole thing was just. And why would a guy in Horseshoe Bend, Idaho, care anything about New Hampshire? What was his? It's almost like he was trying for attention.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'd like to kind of interject here on that one too. Absolutely, I'd like to kind of step in on this one as well. It does seem exactly just like that when you listen to the actual interview. It's almost like this guy Matt Connerton or whatever. I don't know how to pronounce his last name there, but. It almost seems as if he is just extremely I don't know. He sounds exasperated. He sounds pretty tired. Sounds like he's really not interested. And it kind of interested me to think about some guy who has, a radio show on an FM station actually entertaining any of this nonsense without actually fact checking things himself.
Yeah.
So I would hope that this would be something for the future. And I would hope that in the future, Mr. Connerton, you would reach out to multiple sides or multiple parties, or at least do some research before you have somebody who is actually not a very credible person on your show.
Yeah. I think this topic, because it, like, my jaws dropped when I heard it. I was like, whoa, like they were talking about you guys. And as a person who has not had a personal interaction with Mr. Painter, this is the first time that he's going to know the Tony D name. It was shocking because some of the things that he was saying, I'm going, you got the story right, because I've heard the same story, but you are claiming victim throughout this whole thing. And from what I understand, after giving this a month to do my research, Mr. Bad Billy is not a victim. He has done his fair share of info searching and, just as everyone else, harassing. So I just want to put it out there that this is the message back to you, Bad Billy, and for everyone to understand that this isn't a personal attack. This is just a response to what you began. That's it. Till we let it rock again. I'm Tony D. That's Matt, Fresno, and Connie. You can catch this on the YouTube. Until we let it rock again, be safe, be kind, love one another, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Be good.